Speed was released in 1994 and stars Keanu Reeves, Jeff Daniels, Dennis Hopper and Sandra Bullock, and it probably features one of the most simple and famous premises to ever be included in an action movie. There's a bomb on a bus, and if the bus goes under 50 miles an hour, it blows up. Speed is a movie that I've been wanting to watch for quite some time now because it's genuinely regarded by a lot of people to be one of the quintessential action movies to watch, and even in sometimes regarded as one of the best action movies ever made, up there with the likes of Die Hard and Terminator 2. So yeah, I had pretty high expectations going into this movie, and I can thankfully say that this movie did not disappoint. It's fast-paced, it knows exactly what it is and sticks to it, and that premise that I mentioned a minute ago is really all you need to know if you haven't seen the movie already. Now I'm going to start off by saying that one of the best aspects of the movie, in my opinion, is that it takes this very simple premise and pushes it to its extremes without going over the top. And that's a very hard thing to do because you have movies like Mad Max Fury Road that again take a simple premise and push it to its extremes in the most bizarrest way possible, whereas Speed does that, but not in a bizarre way. Yes, it does do everything you can literally think of with a premise like this, and I appreciate the movie for doing that, but somehow manages to keep it grounded in a sense of reality, and that's mostly down to the performances by Keanu Reeves, Jeff Daniels and Sandra Bullock. They feel like real characters, they don't feel like glorified action heroes like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone. And it's that aspect of the movie, along with how certain things are handled, specifically in the police department area, that keep the movie grounded in a somewhat sense of reality, even though these over-the-top stunts and crazy shit is happening all over the place. And that's one aspect of the movie that I absolutely loved. I also really like the camera work in this movie. It's not too in your face, but it's just prominent enough to make every single shot and moment feel urgent and tense. And this, combined with a really, really good lead performance from Keanu Reeves, pretty much makes the movie work better than it should do. And I don't think the movie would be as good as it is if it wasn't for the direction and Keanu Reeves' main performance, because they work kind of hand in hand with each other, and yeah, they work really well. Keanu Reeves, again, like I said a minute ago, feels like an actual person, unlike his character of Neo in the later Matrix films or, you know, any other action hero. And yeah, he really does work for this movie. He does add a sense of urgency to his role, and whenever something happens that works against him, you really do feel as pissed off as he does, because you just want him to succeed and get these people off of the bus before it explodes. Also, how could I forget about Dennis Hopper? He's so perfectly over the top in his role as the bad guy, but not too over the top where it's distracting. He's just that right amount of crazy, and yeah, he really works for the sake of the movie, and again fits in with the somewhat over the top but also somewhat realistic tone that the movie sets up at the beginning. I also really like how this movie opens as well with a terrorist attack on an elevator shaft. It kind of sets the tone and the pace for the movie, whilst also giving you some insight to the two main characters being Jeff Daniels and Keanu Reeves. And I just really like how that whole scene is executed. Yeah, it does seem a little bit dated, and it does seem a little bit pointless to begin with, but I think it perfectly sets the tone of the movie, and I don't really know how else they could have started a movie like this. Whilst we're on the subject of things being dated, I suppose this is where my nitpicks really come into the movie, and that is the fact that there are some subtle aspects of this movie that really haven't aged that well. The score, though it is good and works for the sake of the movie, is a little bit dated, and the same goes for some of the one-liners that characters say. Like, the movie will be going really good and will, you know, have this really consistent scene going, and then will be ruined by a really out of place one-liner by one of the characters that really just doesn't fit. And that's kind of a product of the times, because a lot of 90s movies like Reservoir Dogs and even other action movies like Terminator 2 or even the first Terminator, even though that came out in the 80s, do suffer from that slightly. They have these odd, quirky one-liners that probably were a good idea at the time, but really don't age well. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Speed a 9 out of 10. I really did like this movie, and the rating will probably increase with the more times that I watch it in the future. But for the moment, I do think it is a really well executed action movie that's well edited, well shot, and really well acted. And yeah, it just takes that one premise and pushes it to its extremes, but somehow manages to keep it grounded. And I love the movie for that. So guys, that was my review of Speed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.